you got to understand that these things are very, very labor intensive. And there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you have the possibility of people being impaired. You have toxicology. That takes an extreme amount of time. There's a lot of measurements that has to be taken, laser measurements, intricate drawings of the site. We have to go over the black box in the vehicles to get data off of that. So this is not something that's going to happen overnight. We try to get the information out to you as fast as possible, but you got to understand this process takes time, right? And we can't go fast. We've only got one opportunity here to get this right. If we make a mistake and these people walk, it's back on us. And it's not what the family and this community expect. They expect excellence. They expect these investigations to be perfect, and that's why it takes some time. And that's why we are here today after this process, because we have come to the point where we've got arrest warrants. We've taken these people into custody. The state attorney's been great, monitoring it all the way through to make sure we're touching all the bases, but that's why it takes a little bit of time, all right? So when you see these things in the future, that's what you have to come to expect. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to the major right now. He's going to walk you through that, and then Mr. Ehrenberg will make a couple comments.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Talal Masri, M-A-S-R-I. I'm a major at Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Major Crimes Bureau. So this sheriff mentioned initially there's two cases we're talking about. There were two investigations, and both were extremely tragic with the loss of life of innocent people. The first accident happened on January 27 on 441 State Road 7 around Atlantic Avenue, where 6 victims were killed in a car crash. That car struck them from behind, doing excess miles, around 151 miles an hour when it struck the vehicle. 6 people were pronounced dead. So I'll walk you through this timeline on this one. So approximately at 11 p.m. on January 27, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office responded to the 14,000 block of State Road 7, which is US 441, for a traffic crash involving 2019 white BMW. The BMW struck a gray Nissan Rogue. It was occupied by 6 people, as we mentioned. 5 of them were deceased on scene, and 1 later was pronounced dead at the hospital. The BMW was driven by a time 17-year-old Noah Thomas Gale. He's now turned 18. And he was traveling northbound on State Road 7, approaching the Perro Family Farms entrance. The victims were leaving work from the farm, and all 6 of them, like I said, are now deceased. The crash, when he drove in the back, when he crashed into the vehicle, again, there was no brake applied. Our investigation shows he was traveling 151 miles an hour. It struck the vehicle from the back, which caused the vehicle to rotate, and then there were ejections on scene. Like I said, 5 of the 6 were already pronounced on scene. So the vehicle investigation for this one took 6 weeks of nonstop work. The sheriff was aware from at the beginning of the incident, and he asked that we do everything we get to get closure to the family. And sure enough, 6 weeks later, we're able to obtain 6 arrest warrants for the charge of vehicle homicide for the driver. Like I mentioned, he's now 18. He was taken into custody earlier today. The second crash, everybody's aware of, in Crestwood Boulevard, happened at the student bus stop. There were students waiting, and it happened to be the day right after spring break, the first day. Students were standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus to pick them up to school when the driver lost control of his vehicle and struck the students. 2 of them were in critical condition initially and later were deceased, and the 3rd was in critical but stable injuries right now. At the time of the crash, the person was driving an Alfa Romeo 2018. He was identified as Angel Lopez. He was going northbound on Crestwood Boulevard. Again, this case, obviously, when it comes to students, and everybody has kids, and it's very sensitive in the community, we were, again, directed by the sheriff to put every resource on it. The investigators worked nonstop for 2 weeks until we were able to obtain an arrest warrant for Mr. Lopez. Again, the sheriff mentioned this involved toxicology. Toxicology was done, and the results showed over 4 times the limit that would normally a person take for medicine he was taking. Based on the impairment observed on the scene by the investigators and the toxicology report, an arrest warrant was obtained for the arrest as well for the charges of vehicle homicide and DUI manslaughter and serious bodily injury for the 3rd person that remained alive. Also, Mr. Lopez was taken into custody today without incident. Both people are on, one is already booked in the jail, the other one's on his way to the jail. I do want to mention again, the vehicle homicide investigators worked nonstop to get this done. It's very technical, as the sheriff mentioned, and again, we were successfully able to, with working with the state attorney, obtain an arrest warrant and hopefully bring some closure to the family.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Dave Ehrenberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County. I want to thank Sheriff Bradshaw and his amazing team. PBSO did incredible work. These are extremely labor-intensive investigations. And also I want to thank Commissioner McKinley for being here, who cares deeply about her district. I'm limited to what I can say today because this is an open and pending case in our jurisdiction, so I'll be brief. It's unfortunate that too many people drive recklessly on our roadways and put lives at risk. And in cases like this, anytime we have sufficient evidence that someone has broken the law, we will prosecute them. You can't have a safe community without having safe streets. And we intend to hold defendants in cases like this accountable for their actions and seek justice for victims. I want to again thank the sheriff and the partnership that the state attorney's office has with law enforcement that enabled us to get to this place today. Thank you.
I'm the short one. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. Like our state attorney, I don't want to say too much either. I prefer to be on a commission dais and not in a courtroom. But I really just want to thank the men and women of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for prioritizing this investigation, both of these investigations, to help these families heal, to help the students that walked out of the hospital heal, and to bring some peace for those 2 students that we had to put to rest. It's a tragic condition or situation that happened at a school bus stop. I want to thank the partnership with the Palm Beach County School District as well in relocating that bus stop, and also to give you my assurances that I have spoken with the mayor of Royal Palm Beach, and we've been communicating through our staff. It got a little bureaucratic, and the 2 of us are communicating directly to try to find ways to keep our streets even safer in the future. But my thoughts and my prayers go out to the 2 families who tonight will go to sleep without their 2 children in their beds. And thankful for the good work of the sheriff's office for issuing these arrest warrants and making somebody be held responsible for it. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Sheriff, can you talk a little bit more about what exactly was found in the toxicology for Mr. Lopez there? I know you guys said it was 4 times over the legal limit.
I'll let the major handle that one.
Sure. It was a prescription medicine, and the medicine itself was temazepam, and it will be included in the package we're going to hand you out. But it was over the 4 times the legal limit.
Does that explain what I guess the allegations were of how it was slow movements and seemed lethargic?
Exactly. From the time the investigator gets on scene, actually first officer make contact, we start observing the driver, and you look for signs of impairment. And based on their training, and believe me, they're highly trained, especially in the vehicle homicide unit, they observed signs of slow speech impairment, pinpoint pupils, things of that nature that all, it's called the totality of circumstance. They put them together, shows impairment, and the toxicology report only confirmed that this person was impaired.
Did he share a little bit more about what had happened? Did he lose consciousness, and then was there the crash? And where was he taken into custody? Did he say anything to you guys?
As far as the sharing information, it's going to be in a probable cause affidavit about what he said. The statements will be later made available for court purposes. But he was taken into custody after he left work in front of his home. We had kept tabs basically on people, make sure that when we're working on a warrant, make sure we find the person when we need to find him. And sure enough, he was cooperative when we take him into custody.
Sheriff, what is his job, and did he live and work locally?
He does work locally, and he works at the Wellington Mall. You're welcome.
What can you share about Mr. Gale? I guess I know you said you guys believe he was traveling at 151 miles an hour when that incident occurred, that crash.
That's correct. He was driving a BMW M5, and there were no braking, according to our investigators, when they completed the investigation, so there was no marks of any braking. The vehicle was traveling northbound, was struck from behind. The impact was at 151 miles per hour.
Major, do you suspect any drugs or alcohol in that crash to generate that?
Did we?
No, sir.
There was no, and the toxicology was not, did not show anything on
Not
it.
in the
Yeah,
paper.
we did all the investigation, didn't show any of it.
Okay, is it medically
high speed.
Just high speed, okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now, I understand that the vehicle in the January crash rolled over multiple times. Can you describe his injuries, the suspect?
I believe the suspect was not injured at the time. The people only, the vehicle that he struck, that there were 6 people in a Nissan Rogue. I believe 3 were ejected and another 3 were in a vehicle, had to be extricated. But the driver himself did not suffer any injuries.
Major, could you confirm that the toxicology came back today? Is that what you guys were waiting for Mr. Lopez?
It's just not the toxicology report. Toxicology report is just to confirm suspicion of impairment, obviously, and it did. No, the sheriff actually from day one said, I need this expedited. So we actually had our scientists working late and on it from the minute that happened. So we did obtain it prior. However, it's just to submit the report for the arrest warrant. It takes the paperwork, the crash reconstruction, the speed, everything put together, and then submit the toxicology report to get the state warrant, the state arrest warrant from the state attorney's office, which we did.
See, one of the things you got to understand is when you're dealing with something besides alcohol, that gives you a quick picture of what it is. When you're dealing with prescriptions, the person may have the prescription. So once you determine that's what it is, then you got an expert to say, what's the normal level of that should be in the bloodstream based on what the prescription tells you to take versus your abuse of it, all right? So that's just one more step in that process that takes some time.
We don't have the PC in front of us, though. Are you able to share with us a little bit of what Mr. Lopez told you guys occurred here?
I mean,
No.
yeah.
Nope, not right now. Okay, thank you for being here.
Are they going to be in first appearance
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Yep,
I think so, yes, because we booked him early enough. It should be there.
yeah, there'll be a first appearance.